we've now arrived at 2 Samuel chapter 3, and we're going to consider three insights. Firstly, the chapter summary. Secondly, the key verse. And thirdly, the life application. What you and I can learn from 2 Samuel chapter 3. My name is Boomy Tokan. So let's get started. In this chapter, we discover that David's house was growing stronger and stronger, but Saul's house was growing weaker and weaker, perhaps because God obviously had departed from Saul's house and was firmly establishing David as the ruling house over Israel. Then we come to the story of Abner, Ishbosheth, and Rizpah. Remember, Ishbosheth was Saul's son, whom Abner put as king over the house of Israel. And Rizpah is one of Saul's concubines, whom Abner was having an affair with. Ishbosheth chose to confront Abner because he understood the protocol of the day, that when a man begins to sleep with the previous king's or existing king's concubine, he is establishing himself as the ruler, as opposed to whoever may be in rulership at the time. So Abner was fortifying his position by sleeping with Rizpah. This situation made Ishbosheth odious to Abner, and Abner's response was to go over to Israel and the Benjamites and convince them to install David as the ruler over Israel and the Benjamites. Upon sending a message to David that he would bring Israel over to him, David's response was that you must not come and see me unless you bring Michal, talking about his first wife, Saul's daughter, that was given to Paltiel. Now, Paltiel was the son of Laish, whom Saul gave Michal to, but David had paid her bride price with his life, because Saul thought if he told David to pay a bride price of 100 Philistines foreskins, that will end his life, because the Philistines will obviously kill him. But David and his men went out and actually killed 200 Philistines and brought their foreskins for the bride price for Michal. So Abner goes to see David. He was treated as a king. David dismissed him in peace. But when Joab came back from battle and heard that Abner had come to see the king, Joab sent messengers to bring Abner back to the cistern and then killed him privately. David obviously was no wiser to this. When he heard, David was extremely unhappy. He made a lament about Abner, and he concludes that these sons of Zeruiah are too strong for me, meaning Joab. Asahel is dead now. Abishai is the third son of Zeruiah. So that gives you a snapshot of the summary of 2 Samuel chapter 3. Now, what's my key verse? Verse 18. It says here, now do it, for the Lord promised David, by my servant David, I will rescue my people Israel from the hands of the Philistines and from the hands of their enemies. This obviously Abner knew that God had promised that David will become king of Israel. Yet, when Saul died, chose to install Ishbosheth as king instead of taking the kingdom over to David. Here is a life application. Just because someone knows what to do does not mean they will actually do it. If you consider the lifestyle of Abner, you will realize that Abner went against his own conscience and put soldiers at risk because of his own personal gain. Why would Abner not give over the kingdom to David when it was in his power to do so? He only gave over the kingdom when Ishbosheth upset him. If Ishbosheth had played the game that Abner wanted, perhaps the war with the house of David would have continued a lot longer. But God used that scenario to bring David in as his ruling king. Now, here's the deal. Is there something you know to do that you're not doing, simply because you have an ulterior motive that is bigger than what God wants? Are there people around you that you expect to do the right thing simply because they profess to know it? It doesn't work that way. What actually happens is that even though somebody may proclaim to know something, until they actually do it, it doesn't mean that much. But let us live a life that is worthy of the Lord. Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4, he says, as a prisoner for the Lord then, I ask you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Let us live our life according to the calling we have received from God. Let us live a life that is congruent to what we believe. Let us live a life of faith. Let us live a life of power. Let us live a life of love. Let us live a life of discipleship. God bless you. If you like this video, like it. If you like it, share it. Subscribe to my channel. Write a question or comment below. If you have a private message, then send it to admin@boomytokanministries.org. See you in chapter 4.